It's time to talk superpowers, and Iron Man is our topic.
Oh, it's good to be back.
A superhero not typically thought of for having superpowers, but more super abilities. Well, that is probably because you didn't really know about the superpowers he has, and there's a lot of kick-ass powers he has that put most, if not all, superheroes to shame. But before we get started, make sure you take a quick moment to click on that subscribe button. You'll join our notification squad and stay up to date on these types of videos and more.
Whatever.
Internal bodysuit. Iron Man is nothing more than a mere mortal without his suit. All his abilities derive from the suit, so if you take it away, he'd just be Tony Stark. Think again. Tony Stark is not like Batman. His powers have gone through some fashionable upgrades over the years. These upgrades resulted in Tony Stark never having to be separated from his costume again because it's hiding inside of him. That's right, he never leaves home or goes anywhere for that fact without it. It all started with Iron Man's extremis armor and evolved into the bleeding edge armor. From there, Stark created a suit which merged with his mind, body, and soul, purely controlled by his thoughts. Stark had the suit implanted directly in his nervous system, a la some nanotechnology. This is less than a fancy way of saying Iron Man's costume is stored inside of his bones. With this, he's able to deploy the suit at a moment's notice to fend off any villains and thwart enemy attacks. By developing this style of suit, Tony Stark turned himself from normal rich dude who owns a bunch of cool suits and weapons and into a bona fide godlike superhero.
Power at 400% capacity.
How about that?
Energizer Bunny. When it comes to the newest, most hip electronic gadget to own, the world flocks to purchase it. Questions like how much, does it break easily, and the dreaded question, how long does the battery last? How many times have you been on the toilet about to pass the next level of a game or finally text the person of your dreams for a date and the phone dies right in the middle? Now imagine Iron Man's dilemma. Have you ever wondered how long he has to charge his suits? Well, apparently a high-powered, beyond technologically advanced suit, which can fly and do everything else under the sun, never runs out of battery. But why? This is due to the fact that Iron Man can power his suit indefinitely, utilizing external energy sources. What does this mean? He can absorb the energy from incoming attacks, any sort of energy discharges, and such things as explosions, and convert them to power. There was a brief glimpse of this in his little fight with Thor in the first Avengers outing. So basically, enemies who are trying to wear down Iron Man by shooting or trying to blow him up are just refilling his batteries. So much for solar power. Combat ready. So Tony Stark goes from a Playboy weapons creator, manufacturer, to a robot crime-fighting superhero who leads the most powerful superhero agency, the Avengers. During his Playboy days, he was definitely nowhere near a crime fighter or a fighter of any kind. He loved drinking, women, and anything loaded with high risk and fun. So even though you know him now as a superhero without his suit, if he were attacked, you'd think he'd be done for. Well, you'd be in for a surprise, because Tony Stark is actually quite the badass when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, and Tony Stark would love to prove any naysayers wrong. There was a time period in the comics he was incapable of utilizing his suit, so he reached out to Captain America, of all people, for help. Captain America accepted the challenge of training Stark and developed an insanely relentless training regimen. It was specifically designed to make him one of the greatest fighters alive. Stark delved into Captain America's program and went all out. Day and night he strived for perfection of mind and body until he finished and became an intimidating presence in and out of the suit. Lightning fast response. So when Iron Man had his suit implanted into his nervous system, there was a few additional superpowers which came with it. Iron Man's operating system in his suit was now directly linked to his brain. What does this mean? Well, imagine flipping a light switch and the amount of time it takes for the light to turn on. It's instant, right? Right. Take that same principle when you think about something, except remove any lag time for when you try to remember something or figure something out. You just know when you want it and you think about it. It's a bajillion times faster than a light switch. This new ability launches him into the superhero realm of Spider-Man's spider sense and the like. From here on, Iron Man went from a Batman-type superhero into the likes of what most would consider a traditional type of superhero. Sorry, Batman, but you've been one-upped. This lightning fast response time allowed Iron Man to have insanely fast response times for everything. As in, he thinks it, and it happens, such as moving his arm, walking, flying, firing, etc. This saves him minutes, seconds, even shaving off precious nanoseconds, which is deadly important during life and death scenarios.
We got an AWAC and a global hawk in the area.
So this thing just appeared out of nowhere. How come it didn't show up on the radar?
Stealth. When it comes to the superhero Iron Man and his superpowers, not many in the world think of invisibility as their first choice for one of his superpowers. Sure, it's an awesome ability he has, but by far one of the least sexiest. And you'll definitely have a hard time trying to compel friends that this is one of the greatest superpowers, especially since most have no clue he even has it. But that is why we're writing about this, because we think it's way too underrated. Now, when we say invisibility, we aren't talking how he disappears from sight when activated. We mean he is undetectable from any form of radar currently on the market. This is by and large his most strategic and necessary superpower. Without, enemies would see him coming and have the ability to thwart any attack, or at least put up a stronger defense in attack. Iron Man's element of surprise would disappear without it. This is why it's definitely one of his greatest unknown superpowers. When he flies into enemy territories and tries to destroy world-vanquishing enemies with the Avengers, he maintains that much-needed element of surprise for himself and everyone else.
Jarvis, you there?
At your service, sir.
Gauge heads-up display.
Check.
Report all preferences from home interface.
Will do so.
Always connected. When it comes to technology, Iron Man has that battlefront covered. He's not just on the leading edge of technology, he develops technology which surpasses his own technology. With so much going on in his life, it's essential to stay up to date with every bit of information in the world he can. From the type of equipment being purchased at any given store in order to stop enemies from purchasing supplies, to communicating across the galaxy. Luckily, Tony Stark has developed technology to tap into the world's communication systems. He's taken this information and compiles the data into equations and formulas so he can use the info to his advantage. Sounds cool, and pretty much what you assume he has, right? Well, there's a lot more to the complexity of it all. Stuff regular fans just would not think about, such as he actually has the ability to communicate with and listen to machines from around the world. And he can do it without his suit, since Tony's brain developed a technopathic bond with the world's machinery. Now that's some cool stuff. He can literally tap into any system across the globe and find out and do what he wants with it.
Eject.
Creating confusion. Being on the battlefield is rough. There's so much going on, from life and death to explosions and bullets and laser beams whizzing past your head. Utilizing every ability effectively in a battle is the only way to survive and eventually winning. Iron Man has a superpower of deploying holographic decoys, which have the ability to cause so much confusion for the other side, we wish he would use it a lot more. What do these do, you ask? Well, Iron Man's suit has the ability to project holographic images of himself, rendered in lifelike quality. This would be perfect to cause insane amounts of confusion for the enemy, thinking they're fighting Iron Man when they're really only fighting a representation of him. And not only does he have the ability to project a carbon copy of himself, but he has the capability of projecting multiple versions of Iron Man to confuse missiles and villains attacking. On top of that, there should be no reason why he wouldn't be able to fully render out any of the Avengers as well. We can only assume this superpower is not utilized because it's far too effective and would hinder moving the story forward.
The futurist, gentlemen! The futurist is here! He sees all. He knows what's best for you, whether you like it or not.
See into the future. Sort of. Tony Stark is a savant when it comes to pretty much anything in life. He graduated from MIT as a teenager and collaborated with the smartest and richest people in the world before he was even 20. Hands down, Tony Stark has one of, if not the greatest minds in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
When did you become an expert in thermonuclear astrophysics?
Last night.
He's known in the MCU as a futurist, which is a scientist whose specialty is the attempt to systematically explore predictions and possibilities about the future and how they emerge from the present. With his super intellect and ability to have access to the world's communication systems, he's capable of foreshadowing events based purely on reason and logic. For Tony Stark, it's as easy as 1 + 1 equals Thanos. We'll be attacking from the southeast quadrant on the high noon of the first full moon of the month. In Civil War, Hawkeye even called out Stark on this ability, explaining he must have known about what was going to happen because he's a futurist. This was an extremely important, emotional moment to tie in the storylines from Civil War comic books. Stark was able to predict the Civil War before any of it even happened. More than a repulsor ray. Everyone loves reading and watching Iron Man blast and pulse enemies with his repulsor rays. When he raises that hand and aims, we get excited. Hairs stand on our body, and we enjoy every nanosecond of the thrill he provides. Who wouldn't love to have the ability to blast an enemy foe or bully across the schoolyard, right? Well, on top of that blast, you may not know that Iron Man also has the ability to change it from a repulsor ray and generate a beam of ultra freon. Basically, he has the ability to freeze an attacker in a moment's notice, effectively stopping an enemy in their tracks. But wait, there's more. He is capable of also generating sonic blasts to injure, incapacitate, and even kill an opponent, depending on the ferocity of the sound waves. Oh yeah, he can also create magnetic fields. This has the capability of accelerating or stopping anything magnetic, and he can centralize that power to create an electromagnetic pulse, which has the ability to wipe out anything with power nearby. With just these superpowers, it's difficult to understand how any enemy or foe can last more than a few seconds battling him. Wolverine Deadpool healing. When it comes to superhuman superpowers, Iron Man is not a superhero thought of much, which he really shouldn't be. Yes, he has superpowers, but just like Batman, he's a mortal man who happens to be a bazillionaire with a thirst for crime fighting. He builds his weapons and powers from nothing but his mind and resources. However, along the way of going from genius playboy billionaire to genius superhero billionaire, he developed the ability to heal himself. And we aren't talking like he goes and gets a doctor to perform a surgery or he pops a pill. Like, his body actually heals itself by rebuilding organs and such. It plays off the same technology which he used to implant his suit inside his body. This puts him on the superhero level of Wolverine and Deadpool. Iron Man not only has an impenetrable suit, but if somehow an enemy gets through, he has the ability to rebuild organs if he gets hurt. Now, he isn't going to survive a headshot wound like Logan would, but it sure is a badass superpower to have in his toolbox. Jeez, talk about an arsenal of superpowers. And the above are only a handful of them. Iron Man is one kick-ass superhero.
I have successfully privatized world peace.
Which Iron Man superpower did you not know of? Which superpower would you have had on this list? Is there anything on this list you disagree with? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to share and like this video and click that subscribe button to join our notification squad so you can stay up to date with all our videos. You don't want your friends to know more than you do you? Thanks for watching. Until next time.